we are going to talk about a high-level overview of some what we think are simple, easy things you can do to improve your marketing. Meanwhile, I'm looking through a magazine to find not so good marketing material to show you.
So I was impressed that Robin has all these magazines in her RV. I think you have more magazines in your RV than I have here in my office in my house.
Yeah, I have Pet Age magazine. I have Groomer to Groomer magazine. I have another Groomer to Groomer magazine. Wait, is that the same one?
Are you behind?
Yeah, two different ones. Apparently I'm behind. I have Pet Sitters International. I have APDT Chronicle of the Dog. I really didn't think I had that many magazines until I started looking for pictures to show on this little Facebook Live. And then I realized I had all these magazines.
Because pictures do take the place of 1,000 words, and people right now are very visual. And so if you get back to basics and foundation and think about what makes a great picture. And I know Andrew and the LA Dogworks teams out there, and those of you who know Andrew may not know he's a professional photographer. So Andrew, feel free to chime in. But I think a great picture when you see it, and I think sometimes a not so great picture when you see it. But what do you say for marketing, Robin, that you're really looking for in pictures?
Yeah, so this is like the very basic starting point. Like Susan and I often joke, we want to do a seminar just on marketing pictures and whether you should use them or not. And one of the biggest things is freaking make sure the dogs are happy in the pictures. I can't even tell you how many pictures I see where the dogs are not happy. And then they're using this picture to promote their services or to promote how great they are. And this could be anywhere. It could be in a print ad. It could be Facebook. It could be Instagram. It could be anywhere. So one of the things that we were told, Susan and I were told really early on, was you can't outsource your marketing because you have to have somebody that knows everything about the pet care industry in order to do your marketing. And I'm going to tell you that's not true. And what Susan and I did find, though, was that we did have to teach our marketing person what a good photo was of a dog versus a bad photo. And we do this all the time. We have people that create our PDFs for us. So we create the content and then we send it to a company called Upwork, and they add photos and make it look a lot better than we make it look. And we basically give them some very basic ideas of what photos they're allowed to use. So right off the bat, we tell them, because we believe in positive reinforcement training. So we say, here's the tools that the dog cannot have on. So I don't want any chain. I don't want any prong collars. I don't want any electronic collars or anything that looks like an e-collar, because we just don't use those. So I tell them that might not be true for your facility, but whatever. You just have to tell that person who's going to find your pictures what your requirements are in terms of equipment. And then we always tell them the dog has to be look happy. I can tell you most people will recognize a dog that looks happy versus one that doesn't. But we clarify usually by saying open mouth is great, not usually tongue licks. We don't want a dog with a closed mouth licking its tongue. We usually want them panting with an open mouth, and then a relaxed body posture. And that's about all you have to tell people. And usually they can run with that, even if they know nothing about dogs. So I would say that's a huge starting point. So here's a good picture that we have in marketing. This little dog with a stick. Oh my gosh.
Other way.
Okay, so nice dog having fun with a stick. Great picture. But I'm not going to show too many bad pictures because I don't want to throw anyone under the bus. But hopefully by seeing the good pictures, you'll be able to tell what maybe you should not do. But I'm telling you, you can go through a wide range. Where was that other picture? So this is one from grooming. I'm going to point out this picture. So does that make you like want to run to the grooming office and take your dog there?
Not happy.
And typically dogs aren't thrilled to be all wet, but just like this overall picture is just a little not very friendly.
Like, and I've seen that a lot of people want to put grooming pictures on their website, but you don't have to show them in the bathtub. You don't have to show them when they're uncomfortable. You can show them when maybe they're just on the table and they're happy and nothing's going on. You don't have to show the process or show the after, a before and after, and you can just pose so that the dog isn't feeling uncomfortable with the process.
Yeah, and the really looking, here's the problem is that we know the dogs in our care. And so we fall in love with the little face of the dog, no matter what they're doing. So you almost have to have a person who's looking at it with no emotion to say is, or just go through a checklist. Does the dog have an open mouth? Do they look relaxed? Do they look tense? What are they looking at? Because we tend to look at any dog that we love, and no matter what it's doing, we're going to be like, oh, he's so cute, we love him. And that's the problem with with having all these dogs in our care, because we do fall in love with them, and then we tend to not see what might look not so great to somebody that's an outsider that doesn't know that actual dog. So you really have to be careful about that. What about, oh, go ahead, Susan.
Yeah, and I think when people are starting out, a lot of times you'll use stock images on your website, and I think a few stock images are good, but I think as soon as you can, having some professional photos taken, or some with really good lighting where you can see the eyes of the dogs. And one thing that I learned when we were working with PAC is people's eyes that are looking at things will automatically go to pictures of people in it even before dogs, which surprised me. And so having pictures of people and dogs where both are happy, which is another thing, you want your people happy as well as your dogs or your cats, are good too. So make sure you can get some of your team taken in. And so you can get, and maybe you even have a client you can barter with to do some good pictures, but good lighting is important, and you just have to take tons. That's something I've learned from Debbie Oliver. With a digital camera, take lots and lots of pictures. You can put shutter speed really fast to where you can hopefully get some really good pictures with mouth open and everybody's eyes open, because you do want to be able to see their eyes.
Yeah. And then the other thing is scan the pictures for what's in the background, which a lot of us forget about. We'll see a super cute action going on in the daycare facility, and then you'll take a picture and post it, and then invariably there's like a dog has pooped in the background and you just forgot to clean it up, or they hadn't gotten it's not like it's been there for 8 hours, it just happened, but it's just the timing of the shot. So I would really look at what is in the background. We might have mop buckets, and none of those things are necessarily a problem. It's just that's not necessarily the photo I would want to put on Facebook. So I would want to have ideally your logo or something just not distracting, in a sense of people are going to be like, what is that? So just be careful about that as well. And really just having a quick checklist to say, whoever posts that image on social media, or if you're going to use it in a print ad or whatever, just have a quick checklist to say, what's in the background? Are there people in it? Does everybody look in focus? Is the lighting good? And then does everybody look happy? That's the basics of, but I'm just going to tell you, start looking at websites and Facebook ads. And when you're at, one of the favorite things from when COVID is over is to go to trade shows and look at people's trade show booths and look at the animals on the images. And some of them you'll be shocked to be like, wow, that is not a happy dog promoting that product or service. So you just don't want to be in that, that realm as well.
Because marketing should portray the experience of both the people and the dogs and your team that are having. And for most of us that are taking care and promoting fun and safety, that's what you want your images to portray. So you don't want an open gate in the background or anything like that. I also think using the crop tool and getting in close to the people and the dogs and cutting out the background that isn't really necessary can help too.
Yeah, and I do think people underestimate the power of humans in the photos. I know, like you said, Susan, human beings are naturally drawn to pictures with people. I feel like a lot of times we just want the pictures of the photos, but using the employees in the pictures as well, especially when they're having fun, it does help to give you an opportunity to talk about how much your staff knows and loves those dogs, which is what everyone wants to be assured of. They don't want their dog just hanging out by themselves all day. They want to know that someone's loving on it and taking them for walks. And some of the greatest pictures, a couple of great websites or Facebook pages you can go to. Al Bowman at Cinder Hills Kennel, he always is posting dogs out for walks in his location, and he always says, not always, but a lot of times he'll say from the dog's point of view, it'll be like, oh, I'm so excited to be with John today out on a walk, love Fluffy or whatever. And so I've gotten to know a lot of his staff by that. And he's in Arizona, so he's nowhere near me, but just because I'm on his Facebook page, I see a lot of that. So a lot of those pictures with the employees will help your folks that are watching, whether your clients or prospective clients, get to know your team. It also gives you an opportunity to share what your team has learned. So maybe they're working on gate boundaries and you have the staff member with a couple of dogs at the gate. You can talk about, hey, we're working on gate boundaries. Look how great this is. So it gives you that opportunity to get in some of the educational components that you can highlight that your pet parents have no idea that you're doing by including those humans in the pictures as well. Just make sure they're happy. So Carrie said, oh, wait, I got to move my little image over so I can show this. So Carrie said, I agree with Susie, which I think staging a candid photo works every time. So another great Facebook page to go to is Carrie's at now Dog Tired in Alaska. And they've got tons of video and photos on their dogs having fun working with the team. So they do enrichment daycare. That's a great opportunity as well for both videos and photos that you can promote your daycare services or your enrichment services by showing the dogs doing those activities with the people. Staged photos, if you go to Debbie Oliver's page, which is Miss Daisy, she's in Texas, she has a lot of photos and she'll set up, this is brilliant, because she'll set up like something for the dog to jump over as they come in a door. And then she'll stand in front of the door and call the dogs and just take pictures. So you get all these really cool action shots. Like I used to never understand how she always had the best photos ever. And then one day she told us her secret, which is she builds a prop in front of a door. So the dogs are coming in that way anyway, and they learn to jump over something or on something or whatever. And you're just there ready to take pictures of it. But she gets really good pictures that way. So those are a couple of people you could check out, or Facebook pages you can check out. All right. What other things in terms of marketing your services, Susan, do you want to talk about the language you use?
Yeah, what we want to do is we get out of our internal pet guru technical language because your clients don't talk like that. So they won't recognize those words. You want to talk like your clients talk as far as how they describe things. So you've got to get out of the professional lingo and go into the layman's common. And so that's where it's good if you're writing a flyer or even your website, if you're doing a refresh, have someone that is friends and family that aren't in the industry and make sure that tell them, do you understand all this? Do you relate to this? Because what you want all your marketing messages to feel like you're actually talking to that target client that you want to book services with you. And so you want to speak in language they understand and is appealing to them.
Yeah, and a great example I always use, because I'm a dog trainer, I always use training examples, but you'll see on a lot of dog training sites where you're offering dog training services, typically a dog trainer wants to help you with socialization of your puppy and teaching them how to be a good citizen for the rest of their lives. And all of those are all important things. But what a pet owner wants is, how do I stop them from biting? How do I stop them from peeing in the house? And if you don't talk to that, the owner they'll just discount you because they'll be like, I don't really care about socialization. It's important, but most pet owners don't necessarily know what it means. And you won't necessarily get them to sign up for your services unless you specifically say, I'm going to help you with play biting and I'm going to teach your dog to pee outside. Then they'll sign up. And I always say, when I used to do career days and I would go all kinds of places and talk to children, do educational seminars, and they would always bring me in for a specific reason. They would usually say, I want you to talk to them about a career, or I want you to talk to them about how fun training can be with a dog. They would get, whether they asked for it or not, they would get bite prevention stuff. I would always teach about bite prevention, but nobody really wanted to bring me in to talk specifically about bite prevention. It doesn't sound fun. They want me to come in and talk about a career with dogs. So I would do that. And while I was doing that, I would teach them about canine body language and how to keep from getting bitten. So it's really, you're going to talk about socialization. You're going to teach them how to have their dog be a great canine partner for the rest of their life. But the solution you're really going to discuss on your website or when you're talking on the phone with that client is, I'm going to help you get the dog to stop biting your children's toes and or heels and teach them to go to the bathroom outside. Everything else is great. You're going to still teach it. But it's really important to use the same language that your clients use. Otherwise, they are not going to resonate with whatever that message is. And I think that's just hard. As you get more education, you start to just talk in the language of other pet professionals. And then you forget that the clients have no idea what you're talking about, nor do they care. Like that's not their concern, even
Right.
though it's something that you still want to help them with. But we
Yeah, I
tend to
think,
help with the language.
yeah, our language, we also sometimes talk about features of our facilities. And again, I think most clients expect that. I think you need to focus on the experience, the emotions and the feelings, that they won't feel guilty because their dog's having so much fun, they're busy, they're safe. Those are the things that they don't really care necessarily about your air exchanges and how you get there. They just want that reassurance that you're going to be safe. So you got to figure out, if you have a feature you really like and sets you apart, how does that benefit the dog and the experience they're going to have? So maybe it's spacious yards for your dog to run and play and burn energy versus saying I've got 5,000 square foot or an acre to play in.
Yeah, and I think that brings to point the whole idea that when pet parents are dropping their dogs off, they are usually worried. They're usually nervous because they're leaving their dog. They don't know. And the most common, and Susan and I did a pet parent survey years ago, the most common view of that pet parents have about lodging facilities is that it's jail. So that's what they're coming to your facility in their head. They're thinking, my dog's going to be in some kind of an enclosure where it's just like jail, and then they're going to be sad. And that's what they're thinking. So the more you can express to them how your facility is just like home, they're going to have a better time than you have on your vacation while you're going out. They're not going to be in jail. They're going to be out playing in a yard just like they would if they were at home, maybe even better than if they were at home if they don't have a yard. But you really have to paint that picture for them and help them understand. One of the reasons that rover.com and dog vacay, those types of booking services started growing was because that's how they're marketing. They're marketing to say, bring your dog to my house. It's just like your house. So you've got to use that same language to help pet parents see that you have a facility that can be just like home, with a whole lot of better educated staff, hopefully, and safety measures. So making sure that they understand all that and that their dog's going to have a blast because of all the fun things you guys do there. And it's just like a vacation for the dog. So I think those are all super important as well in terms of your marketing. And then do you want to talk, Susan, about the list of negatives when people promote? A lot of facilities promote themselves, and you'll go on their website and the first thing is all the things their dog won't experience. So do you want to talk a little bit about?
Yeah, I know sometimes we want to make sure that our clients understand our policies and procedures and our requirements as far as health and vaccinations, and that we don't want too much stuff brought in. I just wouldn't put any of that on your website. I would, once there's a booking, then you can send them what they need to know. And what we did was what to bring to camp with your dog, or what to have your dog bring to camp, and try to put things in the positive instead of doing this big don't list. And please don't put a big don't list on your website and list all the don'ts that can't happen. Try to put them as a positive.
Yeah, so I'll give an example. Because I am in my RV right now, so we go to a lot of campsites, and my husband and I have this joke about because every time you check in, they give you the campground map and then how to get to your facility. And then usually somewhere on that piece of paper is like the policies of the campground. And there's some that are like, your dog can have fun at the dog park. And it's over here. And we have breakfast every morning at this. And then you get other ones that are like, quiet hours are from 10 to 12. Don't make any noise after 10. You must take your trash out by 8 a.m. You must, it's like all of these just negative things. And with just a little tweaking, you could change those to be positive. And it's the same thing with the daycare facilities, just making sure that you have those restrictions, but you don't necessarily have to publish them. And you definitely don't want to bring up what is already worrisome to a client.
Oh
So if
yeah.
I'm dropping off, let's say I'm dropping off my dog for the first time, I don't know you, I'm trying to get to know you, I'm a little bit worried. There's so many things that could possibly happen while I'm gone. Don't remind them of any of those things. So you don't want to be like, your dog's probably not going to get in a fight because we have all this education. Great. Talk about the education of your staff, but don't associate it with, because we're educated, your dog won't get into a fight. Because now all of a sudden they're going, wait, was that even an option that my dogs might get into a fight or get injured of some sort? Again, you have to have some of that in some of your policies, and they're going to sign a waiver and that kind of thing. But you don't have to put it all on your website, because people go to your website and then all you're doing is creating that fear in their head even more than it's already there. Talking of even putting on your website, we're clean so your dog won't get infections, or we have this so that bacteria can't spread as easily. Those are all not really nice things to say, because you're just going to spur that owner to start thinking about the negative things that can happen when they drop their dog off. So there's just really some tweaking of your language to make it as positive as possible. And again, like Susan said, not every policy has to be on your website. You can put some of them in the paperwork that they fill out later, not in the marketing material where you're trying to promote your services and get someone to sign up. So I think that's
And
important.
I think what you just said, Robin, is sometimes an obvious thing that's missed is what you got to think about on every page of your website. What do you want? What action do you want the person to take that's there? Do you want them to call you? Do you want them to book an appointment? You want them to enroll in your center? Every page should have a very clear call to action, because you really got to tell people what to do. How many websites are you on where it says, click this button now? People want to be told what to do.
Yeah. And the more clear you can be, the better. And so you do want to have a call to action, which is generally speaking going to either be sign up for our newsletter or sign up for something so you get their email address, which we've talked about before, the importance of email addresses, or a text number or whatever, some way to contact them in the future. It might be book a tour, it might be call us, it might be make a reservation now, but something for them to actually take another step. Because otherwise they're going to get on your website and they're going to be, this is all nice. And if you haven't actually said, do this now, they may not do it. Having a really clear call to action is really important. The same thing is true if you send them an email. So you can have generic informational emails, but it is generally better to give them some call to action when you send that newsletter to them or an email to them. Have them do something, whether it's contact you, call you, email you, take a poll, whatever it is. But those are all, go back and look at some of your marketing material and see for anything that you're doing, whether it's a postcard, an email, something on your social media page where you're using it to market, are you putting any kind of call to action in? And I will tell you, a lot of people don't, because they just don't think in those terms.
Or I think sometimes we may ask them to do more than one thing, and you want to simplify it down to one thing per marketing piece.
Yeah. So you don't want to have them like call or email and text, or another one is you give them so many links that are to all different things that the more links you have, the less likely they are to do anything. So just keep an eye on when you're sending something out. If you want them to click on something to go somewhere else, how many links do you give them? And multiple links of this that are linking to the same thing are fine. I'm talking about multiple links that all go to different things. That's where you have to go.
You'll take them down a rabbit trail and lose them. And that's what you don't want to do. And sometimes we're not the best writers and we may think we're okay, but one thing professional that can be a really good investment is a professional copywriter. And Robin and I have learned this the hard way because we've we now use a really good copywriter, and they're easy to find, and they can take your language and make it client friendly. That's one thing that they probably have an advantage over you, is they can take your technical speak and make it pet pet owner friendly, because most of the copywriters we know do have dogs, or if not, our copywriter loved us so much in the other pet businesses she worked for, she got a dog and she's totally in love now. So
She is.
investing in a copywriter is money well spent, and you can find them on Upwork. They don't cost a lot. They can work remotely for you. And once you start and they learn your brand and your voice, then people won't realize that you're using someone.
Yeah, and I would say that's another misnomer. I think when we started out, the message I always got was you have to write your own stuff because nobody knows your business the way you do, and you're not going to be able to have somebody else market your services unless they know. And I believed that for a while. I even think I told myself that for a while. Totally not true. A copywriter, that is what they make their living on, learning your voice and learning the products and services you offer and learning how to promote those. So I can tell you that Stephanie, who does our copywriting, she's from Sizzle Force Marketing. I very rarely even change anything about what she does. So when she first started writing for us, I would get stuff back and I would tweak a few things because she would say things not quite the way I would say them in terms of my voice or Susan's voice, basically the collective dog guru's voice. So I would tweak them a little bit, but as she got more and more work with us, I very rarely change anything about what she writes. So I get it. I give her a task to say, we want to promote this product or service. And we usually will tell her, we want a 4 email campaign to sell this. And then we give her time to do that. And she brings it back. And she'll usually ask clarifying questions that we haven't provided to her about who the target market is and about what the benefits are. We have to let her know what those are, but then she puts it all in language that helps us and saves me a ton of time. So it's a great resource to use. And we don't use her for everything, but we use her for the larger campaigns that we do. And we basically have a retainer X amount of hours a month. So she's an independent contractor with us. So it's not like you necessarily have to have a full-time employee. She doesn't work full-time for us. So definitely look at a copywriter.
They can help tell your brand story, which is really important. And I think a page that's overlooked on a lot of websites, which is one of the first ones I go to whenever I go to a pet business website, is the About Us page. And I want to see the story. Why did you get into this? Who are your key people? And some of them are so cute that they're really well done, with key staff members talking about their own pets or what they do. The more authentic you can be, where people can relate to you person to person, because honestly, people do business with other people. They don't do business with businesses.
Especially with pet care.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the first things I look for is the About Us page. I want to see why they started, and I want to see who is working with the animals. And I personally can't get past like leaving my dog at a place where they have nothing about the team on their website. That's just me. Because I really need to know who the people are. I'm not leaving my dog at a corporation. Like, I'm leaving my dog with human beings, hopefully, that love and care for him. And that doesn't get reflected very well if you don't have any information about your business and your team on your website. So that's definitely one I would look at.
And that's where you can put your certifications and your education. And that's what's going to stand out when they compare other websites of competitors. And I know team turnover, but your key people, your groomer, your dog trainer, your managers, your senior tenured staff, you don't have to put everybody on there. Put a lot of the key people and the people they will see when they come to your business. And it's a great way to show your team with dogs. That's great photo shoots to do, and that they really do care and have a passion for what they're doing.
And then I would say one of the last like high level things of looking at your website especially is more pictures, less text. So if you have text, It should be in bullet form. People don't read, like study after study show, people don't read anymore. And literally, I'm in my 50s, and even I'm at the point where I like, if I open an email and it's too long, I'm like, I don't have time to read that right now, and I'll save it till later. If it's a really small, short email, I'll digest it right away. I found myself doing that even with my husband's an avid reader, and he will sometimes send me via messenger, he'll send me articles that he thinks I might find interesting. And I've even sometimes I've opened them up. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's way too long. I can't read that right now. It's just, and that's from a 50-year-old, 50 some year old. So the younger generation really doesn't read well much at all. They prefer scanning. And this is not just me saying, this is studies showing that's how they digest information. I'm not saying they can't read. They obviously can read, but the way that they process information is much more by scanning. So if you look at your website, just do a quick audit of your own website, look at all the photos, like how happy did the dogs look, switch those out if they don't look happy, what's in the background, that kind of thing. But also look at when you open your website, you just see a massive wall of text. Because if you do, I can tell you people aren't reading that. No. And they're probably just going to go overwhelm and click off your website. So really looking at lots of pictures, lots of bulleted text in like single line bullets, and then videos even better. So if you can do really short video snippets of a couple minutes at a time to tell your story or share information or whatever, that's even better. So all of those have become really important in today's age of marketing as well. What else about the website audit do you want to point out, Susan? Anything else?
No, I think that covers it pretty well, but it's definitely worthwhile to do because things change. And I do really like having some pictures that are authentic of your team and dogs that are actually there, action experience shots, because that just comes across differently than stock photos. When people start seeing the same stock photos everywhere, and it's a stock photo.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So our kind of call to action for you guys is for everybody to do bare minimum, to do like a quick audit of your own website and all the pages on your website. And I would actually have somebody, like a third party that maybe is not even a client, just look at your website and give somebody that will give you honest feedback, one of your friends or whatever that will give you honest feedback, but have them look at it too. The quote that Susan and I often use, because we were told this a long time ago by somebody we were working with, is a confused mind always says no. So if your website is at all confusing, especially when it gets to the point of somebody purchasing something from you or taking that next step, whether it's book a call, buy something, whatever, if it's confusing, they are bound to not do it. That's just how people work. So if anything's at all confusing, if they get to all of your products and services and there's 6 different options and 6 different choices, that becomes too confusing. People just will say no. A confused mind always says no. So make sure that you don't have a lot of choices. 2 or 3 is great. So you give them a little bit of a choice if you're going to have them pick a plan or pick a service that has different options. But if you put too many on there, they're just going to get confused. So do that website audit, look at the photos, look at how much text is on each page. Is there a call to action on that page? And is it simple? And then do that for every page of your website. If they can actually check out, then go through the checkout process occasionally and see if there's ways you can streamline the checkout process too. If it's they're sending you their email, make sure that's simple. Just go through the steps that your client would go through, because sometimes things get squirrely and we haven't even realized it's weird all of a sudden. I know that's happened on our website before, where I think something's clicking to something and over time somehow things get messed up and it's going all kinds of weird places. So even having somebody go through and click on every link in your website is a good thing to do at least once a year, just to make sure that every link you have is actually working properly. So those are some simple things to start auditing your website. And then looking at hiring a copywriter. We actually did have our copywriter go through our whole website, and she edited it a lot. I thought it was pretty good to begin with, but she changed a lot of the language in it to be more friendly in terms of who we are talking to. And so that's another option you could do, is having somebody really go through your whole website and make sure everything is making sense. So those are important as well. Do you want to talk about Market Hardware? Because we could recommend them as well.
Right. Yes. We like working with the crew at Market Hardware. They can help you with website design and builds and refreshes. They can also help you with SEO, which we haven't really talked about today, but that's that search engine optimization, and help you set up even ad campaigns. So the folks over there have a lot of experience and have worked in the pet industry for several years. So I think Robin's going to share their link. If you just want some professional help, then check them out.
And if anyone has any questions, let us know if you've got questions on marketing. I will put up what Carrie was talking about earlier, which was what Susie said about great candid photos are actually staged. Set up the shots and shoot a lot of images. You're bound to get one great shot. And the great thing is, even now with your iPad, I'm assuming Android does this, but I have an iPhone, not iPad, iPhone. You can do that, like just press the button and it takes a million shots all at one time. Yeah. A good camera, like a good digital camera, you can put it in sports mode and do something similar. But even if you don't have a really good digital camera, your iPhone does that now. Or you can call the dogs in and just hit the button and it just takes a ton of pictures. And then usually a whole bunch of them look horrible. And then you usually find one that you can use. So
and another tip I've learned from Debbie is crouching down so you're at the level of the dog rather than standing above them. It makes a big difference in getting good dog pictures, is getting down on their level.
This is more about selling, but I was also going to put this link into this book. And I've mentioned this book before. I told Susan I'm just on a mission for everybody in the world to read this book. So I'm just going to put it in here again. But it's called The Power of Persuasion. And now I have 2 links in there. The book is really good about understanding what causes people to purchase from you. It's a fairly easy read considering it is a psychological book in a way, but it's a really good book to help understand what causes people to purchase from you. So just ideas on maybe phrasing things we have gotten from that book. So if you want some relatively light reading, that's a really good book. Or you can get it on Audible and listen to it as well. Hopefully some of this was helpful. We have just wanted to give a quick overview on how people can start to work on at a high level without necessarily reaching out and paying anybody to do anything. There's a lot you can do just within your own team to get started on this, and then provide some resources if you do want to do some more follow on, like with Market Hardware. But I think even now more than ever, this stuff is just really important, because most of the studies show that before someone ever calls you to see if they want your services, they've gone to your website. Oftentimes they've gone to your Facebook page, and the more discerning people have probably gone to your personal page as well. And so really making sure that all those things are aligned and are presenting a good version of your brand is what you want to make sure of. And sometimes I can just tell you, because Susan and I look at a lot of websites and Facebook pages and Instagram pages and magazines and everything else, and there's a lot of not so good stuff out there. So we just don't want, and they're so easy to fix. It's just that I don't think anybody really pays attention sometimes. So we just wanted to bring out some of those things that are pretty easy to fix that you can do on your own, and just highlight those things that we sometimes see that make us scream. We want less screaming. That's what we want.
Exactly. Definitely less screaming is good. But we have, in pet industry, you've got such a great heartfelt marketing's about emotions, and you've got the emotions with the pets and even the people enjoying the pets. That's what you're trying to get across, and just make sure you're not missing out on that, because right now it's, for a lot of us, it's like we're starting our businesses again and starting over with marketing and trying to reach a new audience, and there are people out there that are still spending and buying. So don't give up. You just may have to reach and broaden your reach to find them, but they're there, and you want to be their choice when it comes to daycare, grooming, training, and even lodging for the holidays. Spend a little bit of time doing this, and hopefully it'll pay off. That's our goal.
That is our goal. And I think now more than ever, because people aren't going out as much as they might have before, the reach that you can, the ways that you can connect with them emotionally through your Facebook or through Instagram or through TikTok or through your website, all of those, or through email even, all of those are more important now than ever, because they're all at home looking at all that stuff before they ever are going to get in their car, especially now during COVID times, and come to see you, for new clients especially. So that's one of the reasons we really wanted to highlight all of this, because the more you can do, the better you are going to be able to reach those clients and get them to come in and use your services. So,
well, and just one thing that popped into my head, so I'm going to share it, because we talked about Carrie, and I think it was actually Andrew, who are really good photographers, both of them, and we appreciate them sharing their input. But you can find really cheap photo backdrops that can really make your pictures look really cute and provide a lot of fun. And they don't cost much. A backdrop frame doesn't cost very much, and all that stuff folds up and is easy to store, but can make a big difference when you're trying to stage some photos.
yeah, Deb, if you go to Miss Daisy's website, there was someone else that did them too. But anyway, go back and look at her Christmas photos. She had a really neat, I almost got this backdrop just for my house.
It was
like really crazy, Robin, but it was like $115. It wasn't very much. I went and looked at it, but it was a really cute backdrop with snow. And then she put like a chair in front of it, or it might have been like a little pickup truck. She had like things in front of it where she could pose the dogs. Most of the time she poses dogs on climbs, which again, if you're using platforms like the Climb, you just throw something over it that matches the backdrop. Dogs already know how to get on the Climb. So your posing of your pictures is 10,000 times easier. People, if you ever go to my Facebook page, I have a million pictures of Ranger on rocks and on tree boulders and he'll stand on anything. It's because when he was a puppy, I taught him to get on the Climb and pose for a picture. So I can literally just point to something, he'll go get on it, turn around and face me and stand there. It's like I wish I'd have done that with every single dog I ever had, because now he's like the easiest dog to take pictures of. But you could get that in your daycare, and you can get these great shots because the dog is getting on something they already have gotten on a million times. It just now has a sheet over it or some decorative cloth or whatever. But anyway, she had this really cool backdrop, and then she did a lot of pictures with it. I know some people do that for free, which Debbie Oliver does. She includes it as part of her daycare anyway. And then I know others that charge for that. So it could actually be a revenue stream to do those kind of photos. My tip would be, and this came from one of our clients, if you're going to do like holiday photos, start way before the holidays. Go get your holiday backdrop now and start taking pictures now, so that you're not completely stressed out the week before 500 pictures are due. So just start taking them now. Nobody will ever know. But anyway, that's a really good thing. And then, yeah, Jane said Canva free photos. Canva is a resource that we use as well for doing different photos, and especially for adding like your logo to a photo that you want to share on social media or on your website or whatever. Canva is a really good resource for that too. All right, so I think that's enough to get you started.